Good morning, Montrose. I'm Tonya Maddox, and I am the publisher of the Montrose Daily Press. And in the MDP studios, we have the lovely Juliet Carr. Juliet, welcome to Montrose Matters.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Juliet? This show would not be possible without the help and support of Elevate Fiber. Elevate Fiber, thank you so much for allowing us to elevate these amazing individuals here in Montrose. So, without further ado, Juliet, I'm going to mess this up. I know
Let's do it.
You are an author.
I am.
Okay. You're a mental health advocate.
Indeed.
Okay. You're a researcher.
Yes.
What else do you do?
I'm a mom and a wife.
Okay, those are
the two biggest ones.
So you're a mom to three
kids. My oldest is 21. He's studying university in Germany.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah, he's fantastic and just bilingual, and it's so much fun. My middle child is a daughter, and she's 14. She's a freshman at Montrose High School.
Nice.
And she's great as well. And then I have an 11-year-old who's a 5th grader at Oak Grove Elementary School.
Oh my goodness, where do you find the time to write and to research and...
Oh, it just depends. I rely heavily on my muse. So when she shows up and starts tugging at my heart or at my mind, then that's when I write.
Okay. And your muse?
I do not. Some days she's ornery. She won't show up, and I can't write. I couldn't write my own name for like 2 years. And even though I wanted to, I would sit down and nothing would come. And then one day, it didn't matter that my kids were hungry. I think I sat down and wrote for like 4 hours.
And they're like, Mommy.
Yes. And I was like, I have all these words that have been saving up. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, let's start with your book, Attempted Suicide. It's the essential guidebook for loved ones. Tell me your story.
Sure. So about maybe 12 years ago now, I had a family member who attempted suicide twice in 8 months.
Oh my.
And we really searched actively as a family for answers and support and research, just so that we knew how to stay healthy and how to get our loved one back to health, and didn't find anything. And so at that time, it was even more devastating. I went through a period where I had my own mental breakdown because it was just so much. And just kept thinking, someone has to do something. Someone has to do something. It's not gonna be me. I do not want my life to be about this. And it just kind of kept knocking at my door, kind of like my muse did at one point. And I started researching and started actively asking the Suicide Prevention Coalition of Colorado Board of Directors and different things like that. I went to 1-800-273-TALK. I went to all the suicide prevention organizations and really just started asking what needs to be done.
So as you were seeking help, you became passionate about the lack of help.
I did. I really felt like something needed to be done. It was very scary for me to be the tool that would happen through.
Right.
I really didn't want to have my life focused on suicide, and so there was a couple of years where I had to balance that and figure out what the opposite of suicide was, and it's mental health. And so that's where I became passionate about mental health and how to create that and how to have it for myself, how to help my children have it, and then how for them to advocate for the health and wellness of their friends.
Amazing. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Juliet's book, and rumor has it there might be another book coming.
There is.
Here in the heart of beautiful western Colorado, known for its unrivaled outdoor recreation, bountiful harvests, and unparalleled quality of life, changes are being made. Elevate Fiber is transforming the way we work, live, and play by creating exciting new opportunities for local families and businesses. Are you ready?
Welcome back to Montrose Matters, and on this lovely morning, we have Juliet Carr in the MDP studios. Juliet and I were just chatting about her book, Attempted Suicide, The Essential Guide for Loved Ones. Juliet, as I was, reading through, I noticed that you have it's a engaging book. There's a workbook. There are notes that people need, should be taking. But one of the things that stood out to me is you wrote, "Fear can be debilitating. What are 3 actions I can take to work through my fear?"
Yeah.
I like that because I feel as if that is how you got to this point.
Absolutely.
You started with you had that attempted suicide twice in 8 months with your loved one. You started with a nonprofit. You ended up writing a book, and that fear could have been debilitating, but you decided to take action items.
Absolutely. And it was debilitating at times. Absolutely. There were days that there was nothing else that could have occurred in my life. But that was the big point behind this book. I really wanted it to be something that people could use, take with them. It's a nice size. You can drop it in your purse. You can take it in a briefcase. It has a nice cover. My friend Teddy did the artwork.
Oh.
She's from here in Montrose, and she's done the artwork for my next book as well. But I just wanted it to be something that felt pretty, not clinical. I didn't want it to be black and white and the 5 steps you need to take. 5 steps are great, but there's so many things and so much through the grieving process, even though someone didn't die, that you have to work through. And I felt like having those steps for people and really having it laid out was so important.
Agreed. So you said something. You said it. Your next book?
My next book.
What? Well, tell us about it.
Sure. So my next book is Attempted Suicide, Answers from People Who've Attempted Suicide.
Oh.
I really felt like after interviewing people who've had someone attempt suicide, that there were other answers that needed to be researched. And I think just like with the Susan G. Komen Foundation, if you don't include people who've had breast cancer when you're talking about breast cancer, you're like negating the whole equation. So I started interviewing people as well who'd attempted suicide, and I was really surprised that they were much more open with their answers and much more willing. They really want to change the system. And so I'm still surprised that that's not something that researchers have really embraced.
So do you have, you were telling me about an instance where a young man reached out to you.
Yeah. So while I had the idea to write this first book for a guidebook for people who'd had someone attempt, because that was the position I was in, I was interviewing a woman, and she said, "So are you going to interview people who've attempted?" And she was probably the 10th of 11 people who said that. And I said, "Well, not at this time. I don't have plans to." And I got off the phone, and it just really struck me that day. So I penned down, if I could get 16 answers from someone who'd attempted and have them be honest, what would I ask? And so I penned them down really angrily. And within 30 minutes, I had a phone call, and it was a young man from Colorado Springs. And he said, "I know you're writing a book about suicide attempts, and I've attempted twice. I want to tell you my story." And at that moment, I think that was the biggest turning point for me. I was like, okay, there's something bigger that's trying to be born through my actions.
Right.
And I need to pay attention to that because it's something important for humanity.
That is amazing. Something bigger that is going to be born from your actions. Can you imagine if we all lived like that?
Oh,
How different this world would be. How different Montrose would be. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to hear about, where you write, how you spend your time in Montrose, and how you clear your head and come up with these great helpful tactics to, for those who are thinking about attempting suicide or for their loved ones.
absolutely.
And welcome back to Montrose Matters. In the MDP studios, we have Juliet Carr, and this lovely lady have been lifting me up. So I think I've spent more time when the cameras are off chatting with her than with them on. But Juliet is working on a new book. However, she's got this great website too. You want to tell us about the website and how that came to fruition?
I think that was the most important thing when we went through this was as a family, we sat down and talked about what are the things that we would have liked to have had. And a website was so important because it's something you can access in the privacy of your own home.
Yes.
When I got to a point that I was feeling depressed and anxious and everything that came along with this, I did reach out for help, and I said, we need resources. I need an appointment with a mental health therapist. And I was told the next appointment would be 11 weeks away. And at that time, when you're in crisis, 11 weeks, there's nothing else that anyone would ever say that to. If you have a car that's breaking down, you get it fixed. If you have a broken leg, you get it fixed. When you have a broken heart or a broken mind, I don't understand why that's the standard. And so having a website that had those answers, what do you say to someone who's attempted? What do you not say to someone who's attempted? What are checklists that you can take into that mental health provider? What do you do when they're sent home 3 days later? Like, none of us are trained to bring home someone from a hospital and try and keep them alive when they don't want to be. So the website was really important. It does have resources for professionals, because I know that even first responders, firefighters, ambulance personnel, when they go into a home, that affects them as well. So it has resources for everyone that's been affected.
And it's attemptedsuicidehelp.com.
Correct.
Love the help on the end.
Yes.
Love that. So, you have, thankfully, you have decided to use your time in a dark space. You are dealing with attempted suicide and trying to help people, and you write about those things, you advocate, for mental health. It has to be draining on you.
It is when it gets personal. I have had some experiences when I was entrenched locally of people saying really unkind things. And at that point, that's when I really had to take a step back and really say, this is not something I'm going to do. This is not something I'm going to put my family through. And I wasn't making a difference at that point. When you're being publicly humiliated and shamed, you're not making a difference. So I really had to take a step back and reevaluate what I wanted to do and how to be effective. And sometimes I've been told you can't be effective in your own community. And that was a huge weight lifted off my shoulder. Like, you're never a prophet. The saying is never a prophet in your own town.
Right.
And that means that you can't make a profit in your own town sometimes, and that you're not a prophet. People are always like, we know someone that does that lives in New York. And it's hard to rely on those people that are here in our community that are just as brilliant and doing just as important things.
Right. So how does Juliet take care of Juliet then?
I love to cook for people I love. I love it.
Wait, cooking?
Love it. Cooking.
Did you guys hear that?
I know, I should have brought you something. Cookies, or I don't know, a meal. That's my favorite. Next time.
Yes,
maybe tomorrow.
I would not turn that down, Juliet.
I do love to cook, though. It's a very, it's a great process. I love to do it with my family in the kitchen. It's time that we spend bonding and laughing and crying and communicating. So it's really great. I love to do that. I love to take my dogs. I'm a big rescue mom of animals.
You are?
I
Okay.
am. So I love to, I spoil them rotten, though. I'm terrible at it.
So how many dogs do you have?
I have 2 and 3 cats right now. And I love them. They're a little chaotic. I'm learning to be a better owner to them, because in the past I've just rescued older dogs. And so it's really easy to spoil them rotten, because they're going to die sometime soon.
Right.
And this round we have puppies.
Oh,
and
my
so
goodness.
I'm needing to be better.
Okay.
But it's good. I love to take them hiking up on Highway 90 or out in the Dobies and run in the wild with them. I love to be in the outdoors. I've learned some really great meditations that help me immensely.
And those are some of the
that's been
things that you
powerful.
wrote about in your book, is how to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And know your value and how important you are. Oh, that's wonderful. Juliet, we cannot thank you enough for being on the show, and thank you for what you're doing for this community. Not only are you helping those who are in a dark space in their family, but when I think about your rescue of animals and just your love of Montrose, it makes me smile. So, Juliet Carr, make sure you go to, and let anyone you know who needs help, go to attemptedsuicidehelp.com. And guess what? You can get Juliet's book on Amazon, and I'm sure the new one is going to be available there as well.
It will, indeed.
Thank you, Juliet. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.